transportation system. We need to have good, strong buses and continue to build off the great work that's being done. People like parks and trails. We need to make sure that we're investing in our trails and taking advantage of our outdoors here in Minnesota. Also, being a dad, safe routes to schools is something that's very important to me and very dear to my heart. People also enjoy our air travel here, and we want to continue to build off the great work that's been done by many in this room with our airport. So I know both from my personal experience and also that through my business that we've got to continue to make investments in multimodal systems of transportation if we're going to remain economically competitive as a community. And I look forward to working with everyone in this room to tackle this priority.
Hello everyone, I'm Emily Jensen. I am a House candidate out of 13A. This huge district is mine, and I live in St. Joe. And much like Zach, I see how transit affects people and how they are involved in their communities. I work with cognitively and physically disabled adults, primarily, and elderly adults, and they use public transportation all the time. And it is their means into the community, and without it, these people wouldn't have the ability to be involved with their communities as much as they are. I am a firm supporter, like Zach and Dan here, of multimodal transportation. I am on the roads a lot. I've got three, 4 jobs, depending on what season it is. I'm on the roads a lot. I was talking to Larry here, up front here, about how frustrated I am that the words conservative and liberal get tossed around as insults towards each other, and that's what our conversation focuses about. But as a representative, I think we need to get past that. That's ideology. That's not a personal attack on someone. That's your ideology. And what that means is that we can probably all come to agreement that we want safe roads. We want roads free of potholes. We want roads that are efficient to transport our goods on. And as a representative, we've got to work with Republicans, Democrats, business owners, the experts in this room right now. Like, the knowledge in this room right now is incredible. And as a representative, I intend to ask all of you what your ideas are, because I'll be the first to admit that I don't know everything about transportation, but there are a lot of people in this room who do. So I'll keep it really short, because that's what I firmly believe in, and I don't really need to expand much on it. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm Tim O'Driscoll, current state legislator from the Sartell, Sauk Rapids, St. Stephen, and Holdingford area and townships in between. And it's a privilege and pleasure to be able to be here with you today. Prior to being in the legislature, I was also on the Sartell City Council and the mayor, and worked with Angie, and before that Scott at the APO, working on transportation priorities. And I've got a track record of supporting our Central Minnesota initiatives, not only from the local level, but going down as a local elected official and working with our legislators to help on those kinds of initiatives that we've had. I've also been previously called out by the Transportation Alliance here in Minnesota for the work that I've done in the state bonding bill to introduce additional money dedicated to transportation projects. And I've also had the opportunity to work with Ryan Daniel on some less than sexy things as it relates to the operations and things of some of our transportation organizations and things here this year as well, and getting some legislation squared away that helps the MTC continue to run more efficiently as an organization and deliverer of services. One of the things I think that we miss out on, and I've heard other candidates, and I've heard the conversation being, what we really need to do is look at a gas tax. We really need to. I can get you money as quick as next year. If we look at the bonding bill, and we start taking out some projects that don't have statewide or regional significance. There were some things that were in the bonding bill, in my opinion, last year. $20 million for the Nicollet Mall remodel, putting money into other remodel projects for theaters and other things in the Twin Cities metro area. I saw Mayor Gunderson, and I saw some of the county commissioners as well from Benton County. We were working and hoping to try to get these good folks in Sauk Rapids $1 million to try to start working the third up the hill and tying in the project that they're doing out there. Boy, I tell you what, we could have sure used $1 million of that $20 million that would have been in the Nicollet Mall remodel. I know I'm working with others in the area, and I know Representative Howe, when he visits, will also talk about some of the projects in his district. Immediately, folks, billion-dollar bonding bill. We can get money there. We just have to have the willpower to say this is a priority in the state of Minnesota and get it done. I was happy to be able to do that when I was in the majority, and if I'm back, we're in the majority. I'll pick right up where I left off and put money in the bonding bill for transportation-related projects. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is John Denny. I'm the Independence Party candidate for CD6 for Congress. I want to thank the Transportation Alliance for having us out today, and especially us independent candidates who don't always get the equal run. So right off the bat, I want to make sure that everyone understands that here in the Independence Party, we do support transportation funding. Everyone thinks that we're just some libertarian wing of the GOP or something like that. That is not true. Here's somewhere where we truly believe in funding transportation and infrastructure. This is a key point for us. And here in Minnesota, where we've had a very personal relationship with the 35W bridge collapse, we should be very pressing on this issue. If you look at my plan online, you'll see that one of the big planks is bringing money back to Minnesota. One way I intend to do that is to fight and scratch and claw for every federal dollar of funding that is out there. I expect that we can get more than we already have here in Minnesota. We have some of the worst weather conditions with the extreme in climates and things of this nature. We need those federal dollars. Those federal dollars would be much more well served here in Minnesota than in other parts of the country, and I think we should be fighting very hard to get that back. Another part of my plan, if you look online, would be to get money out of Congress. I think this is important in regards to what we're talking about here with predictability of funding at the federal level. I heard that we put a little patch on the federal funding up until 2015. That's not going to be good enough. What state and local governments need is just predictability. They don't want a bunch of handouts. They just want predictability so that they can adequately structure their funding going forward. And with that, I think that what you need in Congress is someone who can really reach across the aisle. And the RNC and the DNC are not going to allow that. I think we've seen it play out multiple times, and I would be the only independent in the House of Representatives. I think that's very important to realize. My phone would never stop ringing. I would be there to broker those, to be that power broker of the center, to get these things done, get these things passed so that our state and local governments can adequately structure their planning for funding going forward. Once again, thank you everybody for having us out. My name is John Denny. You can go to johndennyforcongress.com to find out more.
Well, hello everyone. It's nice to see you all. And actually, when I look across here, I see people that I know as fellow mayors, friends, commissioners. But this is the first time you're seeing Joe Persky, perhaps, as a congressional candidate. And I take this obviously very, very serious, because it's time to come to grips, obviously, with the issues we have in the 6th District and move this country forward and listen to the people of the 6th District. Obviously, transportation is huge here. Those of you that know me from working on the APO, I've worked with you going out to Washington, fighting for what we need here, looking for those projects that are best, not just for Sartell, but for all of us here, and getting those dollars that we needed to get. And I will continue to do that, because we can't continue to let our infrastructure crumble. We have to have a vision to move it forward. Yes, we know North Star Corridor is something we want, whether it's the citizens here in town, or whether it's the Development Corporation, or whether it's the folks down in Minneapolis and St. Paul that want to get up here, or the folks up here that want to get down there, to the airport, to U of M Hospital, to the Twins, to the Vikings, and up here, the students coming this way. Believe it or not, they might even study on that train or even sleep, because they need that sleep too. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to be a champion, I hope, because we needed a champion losing Jim Oberstar. And now that Jim's gone, we need somebody that's going to stand up for Minnesota and stand up for the transportation needs that we have. Now, today, I'm very glad we're here, because it gives us a chance to not let, as you saw in the Times, the 6th District sneak under the radar for what's going on in Congress. I'm going to be that champion, but I must say, Tom, you're a little bit of a contrast from what we saw in the state legislature. Because if we look at the bonding bills that came through in the legislature in his tenure, he voted no to those transportation projects, even after 35W bridge collapsed. We had a bipartisan plan to come through, and that was for the 35W bridge, and also more funding for the DeSoto bridge that we needed so badly here in town. And he voted no on that. No, we need a champion that's going to stand up and fight for what we need, preserve what we already have. Think if we would not have passed those dollars, if we had not passed that 5-cent gas tax that we did in the past, how bad we'd be off. I will tell you, I will work as hard as I can, and those that are here that have worked with me in the APO, they know that. And it's not because I'm a Democrat or not because I'm a Republican, because I know what is right for the people here. And I promise you that I'm going to do that when I get to Washington. And my door will always be open and I'll always be approachable. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jim Knobloch. I'm running for state representative in District 14B, which is roughly the east side of St. Cloud, a couple townships on the east side, the area by St. Cloud Tech High School and the college, and the north side of St. Cloud. A lot of you all recognize me, and a lot of you I know because I was in the legislature some years ago before deciding not to run in 2006. 5 years ago, I moved to the east side of the river, which is why now, as I'm running for this particular seat. I also have been a proponent of a multimodal approach to transportation. When I was in the legislature years ago, I was one of the few Republicans that did support the North Star Corridor. But I would tell you, let's face it, the vast majority of people have cars and travel by roads and bridges, and yes, we need to provide funding for public transit, but we have been vastly neglecting our road and bridge infrastructure. And I think on a bipartisan basis, everyone acknowledges that we have not been doing the job, and that frankly, this last legislative session was a failure in that area. You look at the bonding bill, we spent $900 million in a public works bonding bill. $35 million of it was for transportation. Years ago, back 10, 15 years ago, when costs were much less, we were spending much more in the bonding bill on the county bridge program. I would tell you that from my standpoint, we should be spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year in the bonding bill, the public works bill on transportation, and not spending all sorts of other money on some of the things that Representative O'Driscoll talked about. And so that's one place that I think that without raising taxes, we can get some significant funds. I would also tell you there are ways of getting money into the trunk highway fund using the bonding bill. I was talking to Dan Anderson about this during lunch. You know, MnDOT's got a long tradition of using the gas tax for things that aren't directly the highways. Yes, they're related to the highways. For example, the transportation building that we built out on Highway 15 in St. Cloud, I think it was 12 years ago, that was about a $10 million project. It was paid for with gas tax funds. There's no reason something like that couldn't be paid for with general obligation bonds and then free up that gas tax money for highways. Someone mentioned the rest areas. I think perhaps we could use that same money for improving the rest areas instead of using gas tax funds. So there are ways with the bonding bill, even without raising the gas tax, of getting money into the gas tax, getting money into the trunk highway fund. But having said that, let me also say, as I think a lot of you probably heard me say a week ago at the debate that we had with the Chamber of Commerce, this is going to be, I hope, a big year in dealing with transportation. There's going to be a lot of negotiations coming up, and I haven't taken any options off the table, although I would tell you that I really think we should be first looking at reprioritizing our spending, not spending money on wasteful projects like a new $90 million legislative office building, not spending money on things like we're spending in the bonding bill, and prioritizing our money better. But again, I would tell you, from my standpoint, nothing is off the table. And finally, I guess I'd say, you know, if I get elected again, having been in the legislature for 12 years, I would get all my seniority back, and I think I would be in a very good position to help our area and make sure things like what we saw happen in terms of money being taken away from the Central Minnesota Transportation District and be put elsewhere can be reversed and prevented from happening again. Thank you.
I think we're almost reaching the end of the line. So maybe I'll have to switch. My name is Tama Tice, and I am the state representative for District 14A, which is Wade Park, St. Augusta, the west and south part of St. Cloud. I think one of the biggest hurdles we face is basically fighting with the metro area. They always feel like they're the hub of Minnesota, but we've got so much of greater Minnesota out there to look at. We need to really make our voices heard, and I think we're already starting to do that with the corridors of commerce and starting the extension of 94, adding the lane back and forth. from Rogers to St. Michael, but we need to continue to have very strong voices and say, hey, this is a priority the rest of the way. We're seeing a lot of freight come through, and when you combine that with the railroad and not having enough railroad tracks to accommodate all the cars, we just really need to see that part finished, so that when we look at the statistics and we see that this small portion is such a large part of the congestion area, at least we know we're moving something forward. We do have a lot of issues to look at. The Commerce Committee is also, and I'm on the Commerce Committee, is meeting jointly with the Transportation Finance coming up shortly, and we're going to start talking about railroad and what's going to be happening, because there's several things we need to start thinking about there. Not only is it propane and oil, but also some grains and such that need to get moved too, and we're running into that. And I also see that as if we want to get North Star here, we need to find out some ways to be able to use those tracks. If they're used so greatly by all these trains going through, I'm really not sure how we're going to see North Star come all the way to St. Cloud. Being on the St. Cloud Transportation Infrastructure Advisory Board, I've got a really good feel of when you sit together and you have to figure out which projects you're going to do, whether it's a new project or if it's taking care of some of the maintenance things that need to get done and haven't been done for several years. It really is, you have to really look at the projects and say which really is important. But we haven't been doing that in the state of Minnesota, and we really need to make that the priority. We've heard of some of the projects that have been funded, which from a greater Minnesota perspective are kind of ridiculous. We should be taking care of our roads out here. I know when I head west on 94 from 15 on, that road is terrible. I don't get to travel that a whole lot, but when I do, I'm amazed that we aren't doing a better job of making sure we take care of some of those things. So next year, I think the priority should be, we need to really spend a lot more money on transportation. We need to make that a huge priority. We're hearing it from everyone. They're tired of potholes, they're tired of bad roads, they're tired of everything. If we're going to do anything with the sales tax, we absolutely have to make sure that it gets spent on what we say it's going to get spent on. There's nothing you hear from people that are so disgusted with the fact that we say, this is what it's going to get used for, and it isn't. And we need to really make sure that we do what we say we're going to do. And what we do need to do is make transportation the priority. It is. We're hearing it from everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Tama. I'm afraid that Jeff Howell won't be able to speak. We've run out of cord. No, we're saving the best for last. My name is Tom Emmer. I am the Republican-endorsed candidate running for Congress in Minnesota's 6th Congressional District. I see a lot of familiar faces, but just as a brief introduction, I am from Delano, Minnesota. My wife Jackie and I live there with our family. Delano, as many of you know, and some of you have told me, is simply a suburb of St. Cloud. So please stop by and visit us. In background, I've been in the private sector my entire professional life, raising my family, running a business, but I also have extensive public service, having served approximately 10 years on 2 separate city councils, and then served 3 terms in the Minnesota legislature. This issue of transportation is one that's very personal to everyone in this room. I've been driving the highways in less than highways in the 6th Congressional District for decades. Like everybody in this room, I'm going to guess, I have been stuck on I-94, on Highway 10, on many other roads, 212 before it was improved, Highway 7, numerous times as I've been driving my kids to their various church activities, school activities, athletic activities. Transportation is not only important to our quality of life, but it's also important to our economic way of life. It's important to our prosperity in the 6th Congressional District. We've got major issues on the horizon, whether it's I-94 and the congestion that we see there. Thank God for the Corridors of Commerce program and the people in this room that have made it happen, at least this first stretch, Steve Bott and others. By the way, I'm just a candidate for Congress, but I've already been weighing in on that. We've offered our support for it, and I understand that a more recent proposal is also in the works. We have to add lanes all the way to St. Cloud and beyond. It's the main interstate between Minnesota, the Midwest, the coasts, and North Dakota. Obviously, it's important, but so is Highway 10. There are major issues on Highway 10 between Anoka and St. Cloud, Armstrong, the intersection of Armstrong Boulevard. Those of you that have traveled that, you understand the issues there. But we've been focusing on roads and bridges. I've heard a couple of folks talk about the rail issues. There are other issues involved as well. And a representative in Congress is going to have to be aware of all of them. It's not just roads and bridges, but it's the major issues that we are seeing with the excessive, I should say, the lack of capacity on our rail lines. We simply are not moving freight at this point. The farmers are concerned, other businesses are concerned, and all of us that live in these communities, when we find out what is traveling along those rail lines, are concerned. But it's also the air. We've got a regional airport here in St. Cloud. We've got an airport in Anoka. There are issues that are going to have to be addressed as far as making sure that we can continue to maintain the air service that the mayor and others here in St. Cloud have made sure we have, but now we've got to expand on that. And a representative in Congress has to be advocating for the district. And by the way, if you do look at my record, what you will see is someone that doesn't just vote for the sake of voting, doesn't vote for political expediency, but actually reads the bills, understands what's in them, and understands that it is your money. It is not the representative's money, it's your money that we're spending. Please take a close look at my record. You will see that while I was in the legislature, I advocated and actually successfully obtained funding for Highway 241, among others. I'm proud of the record I have, and if I have the opportunity to serve all of you in this seat, I will hopefully work very hard to make you proud to have me as your representative. And thanks for inviting us for the discussion today. I am standing, by the way. Pretty focused here, as tall as I get. My name is Jeff Howe. I currently represent House District 13A, which is 12 townships in southeastern Stearns County, less the St. Cloud metropolitan area and St. Augusta. I think that in my district, we are mainly agricultural. And we do have some manufacturing. We got Golden Plump out there, G&P. We have the granite, Cold Spring Granite. We have the brewery. We have a lot of agriculture. We also have we have the chain of lakes, which has a lot of tourism. A great deal of folks come out there to go well, now I'm losing it here, resorts. That's where they go. We got a lot of resorts out there. I couldn't think of the word. You know, it's a senior moment. I don't know. But I think with all that, keep in mind, corn growers last year lost $70 million by not being able to get their product to market. Soybean growers lost $20 million. Now, if we look at the cause of that, most of that is the rail, because trucks cost you more to move it. If you looked at the Enbridge pipeline and increased that from 500 million barrels a day to 750 million barrels a day, you'd take 14 unit trains off the tracks. 14 unit trains, all right? One unit train of 110 grain cars. That's 440,000 bushels of corn. 440,000 bushels of corn is 440 trucks carrying that corn that's beating up our roads in rural Minnesota. You do one simple thing like that, our rural roadways will last a little bit longer. Multiply those 440 trucks by 14. I didn't do the math, but you know it's well over 5,000 trucks. That's one unit train, 440 trucks. So I think there's a lot of things we can do. We talk about the funding. Where are we going to get the money? I'm not a big one. I think there's plenty of money. I'll have that argument with you. But I think we prioritize it wrong. One of our largest tax increases last year, or the last biennium, where did the money go? I had a bill for $400 million to go to transportation. Couldn't get a hearing on it. Now it's all of a sudden, because that is done, now it's a priority for next year. What happened to last year? One of the largest surpluses we had. No priority. I think one way we could get some additional funding without raising taxes is identify and capture the sales tax on automotive parts. Because if they buy a new car, you're capturing that sales tax. And if you're like me, you're fixing your old jalopy, and you're not capturing the sales tax on the tires, the shocks, the oil filters. Capture that and put it towards roads and bridges. I haven't got the answer back from House Research on how many dollars that's going to be, but I'm sure it's quite large. Because I paid quite a bit just to keep my cars on the road here lately. I don't think I got grease under my fingers right now, but I think that's key. I think we can be creative, identify some of those alternate places and prioritize that. And put that money where it really needs to be. Because as these roads beat up our vehicles, we're paying to keep them, to fix them. We can capture that sales tax, put it right back in and fix those roads. Thank you.